between a goat and a sheep. When we want to build our roads, we have engineers, most of whom today, if you do not address them as engineers so and so, they rise up, ready to beat you up. But yet, when we are building our highway from Accra through to Winnipeg, through to Cape Coast, through to La Côte d'Ivoire, it is the Chinese that I see.
Yes, it is the Chinese that I see. Nwani. So you have engineers, you have contractors, you have all that. But our own cannot really deliver. Or if they can, we don't give them the opportunity. That's the situation we have as Africans. Mumenti Yaman Penny's Excellency John Dramani Mahama, after he returns from the UN yeoman's job. Muma Yanko na Yanko Fire. It's a bit we are taking this one directly from the presidency and TF4 to take a short while. I want you to also have a feeling of what really transpired. Now, yes, I shall say, and any lawyer forward about the what is happening in the legal reforms in the law schools in Ghana. And today, the return of our President His Excellency John Dramani Mahama
has chalked this historic feat. It's among His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has chalked this historic feat. It's among other things, this resolution taking the declaration that trafficking will. So, in short, it's His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, coming in with the Chief of Staff, Mr. Julius Debra, and just as the flight, special flight carrying the president touched down. So I'll be crossing over shortly to Belinda, but let's see how this special flight taxis, and I'm sure many of us have seen the Jata symbol on it, and Her Excellency the Vice President, Chief of Staff Julius Debra, I understand, will walk straight to where the plane is. Will be receiving the president. When the president alights, he will be ushered to the days where they will be seated. There will be brief messages, a welcome. The vuvuzelas will sound a warm welcome by the vice president, who just hugged the president. We have the chief of defense staff, the IGP, of course, service commanders are also represented here. And the Chief of Staff and the Inspector General of Police will be supporting the Vice President, and the Chief of Staff as his President, our President John Dramani Mahama, walks on the red carpet to take the days at the podium where I believe the national anthem will officially commence this short ceremony. If you have just joined us, we are broadcasting live from the Jubilee Lounge at the Kotoka International Airport, where traditionalists, cultural troupes from the Ghana Dance Ensemble are here. We have the chiefs, the queen mothers from the Ghana traditional area who are all waiting. We'll be taking the national anthem any moment from now. So let's listen to the sounds here at the Jubilee Lounge while the program continues.
All right, thank you. We take thank you. The national anthem.
Baraka FM.
Thank you.
Wave your flag, oh boy! Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, His Excellency President of the Republic of Ghana and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. Your Excellency, on grounds to welcome you, is chiefs from Greater Accra. We have traditional rulers who are here, priests. We have men of God. We have our Council of State members, senior officers of government. All of them are here to welcome you, Your Excellency. We'll now invite the Chief of Staff to welcome His Excellency, the President, Honorable Julius Zebra.
Your Excellency, President Mahama, Your Excellency, Madam Vice President, the Chairman and members of the Council of State here present, senior government officials, service.
And so, it calls for all of us to be here to welcome him. Mr. President, if we had not controlled the numbers, I believe you couldn't have stand it. Why are we here? Several years ago, our first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, when he led the African liberation struggle, he made Ghana proud. We became the first African country, Sub-Sahara, to gain independence. Several years down the line, when the entire African Union were looking for somebody courageous, bold, wise to lead the charge, they found no one but our president, President John Dramani Mahama. Mr. President, your forebearers in Deura Japa will be so proud of you because you are bold and courageous. Your late father, Honorable Ye Mahama, I believe, will be very, very proud of you. And Ghana as a whole, we are very proud of you for leading the charge to the United Nations to call for us entire world acknowledging that slavery is the most grievous crime against humanity and to call for reparation. An assignment you executed excellently. Mr. President, on behalf of the government, on behalf of the presidency, and on behalf of the good people of Ghana, we welcome you home and we are so proud of you. Thank you for raising Ghana again. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Julius Zebra. Thank you. Wave your flag, wave your flag, wave your flag. Are you not happy? Wave your flag.
Baraka FM.
Truth begins with language, with the power that words hold to shape consciousness and to shape perspectives, to propel an action or other. There's no such thing as a slave. There were human beings who were trafficked and then enslaved by people who believed they could own those human beings as chattels, as their personal property. The entire transatlantic slave trade was designed to deny African people
Baraka FM.
And that denial was premised on a racial hierarchy with no basis in fact or science, a racial hierarchy that deemed whiteness superior and blackness inferior. So when discussing slavery and its resulting institutions and practices, we must always start by reclaiming racial equality, the dignity of Africans, the humanity of our ancestors who were enslaved, and as a matter of course, our own humanity. I speak these words today not only for Ghana, but also in solidarity with the rest of Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, and the wider diaspora, and indeed, all people of good conscience throughout the world. This resolution is a pathway to healing and reparative justice. This resolution is a safeguard against forgetting. We stand united as Africans, whether on the continent or any part of the world, and link up with people of conscience around the world to seek truth and justice and restore the dignity and humanity of victims of the slave trade. This is a resolution of destiny. And I hope all of you will vote tomorrow to establish truth so that together we can pass this historic resolution and finally acknowledge the full horrors of these transgressions against humanity of the approximately 15 million human beings who were enslaved.
Thank you very much. To congratulate His Excellency the President, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, I will now invite our mother, the First Women Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajaman.
Baraka FM. Baraka FM.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, President of the Republic, Honorable Ministers and other government officials, Nime, Name, Nananom, members of the diplomatic corps, students, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening. On behalf of the people of Ghana, I welcome Your Excellency, our President, John Dramani Mahama, back home. Akwaba. This moment is historically significant and important for the present. The recent adoption of the United Nations resolution on the transatlantic slave trade brings clarity to a long-standing debate. It captures in clear terms the gravity and criminality of the transatlantic slave trade. It places that recognition on record and at the highest level of global deliberation. Along our coastline and elsewhere, the evidence is physical rather than interpretive. The dungeons, courtyards, caves, defense walls, slave markets, and the door of no return are not symbols constructed after the fact, but structures that insist on a real and unsettling memory. For many Africans, these sites are part of our national consciousness. For others across the diaspora, they stand for return, reflection, and acknowledgement. What those places have held long in stone, this resolution now recalls in principle. This is a huge achievement. Your Excellency, this outcome demanded persistent engagement to insist on accuracy over compromise. Ghana's role in this process highlights a consistent stance. History must be acknowledged clearly if it is to be taken seriously. While a resolution does not resolve the significant inequalities rooted in this history, it establishes a shared language, reduces ambiguity, and makes certain issues harder to silence. For Ghana, the implications are both external and internal. Externally, it strengthens the basis for continued engagement on heritage and development. Internally, it challenges us to preserve and present this history with accuracy, discipline, and a full awareness of its relevance. Your Excellency, we acknowledge the effort that went into achieving this milestone. We also recognize that this is part of a dialogue that will need more patience, coordination, and determination over time. For today, we mark the moment. Your Excellency, you have helped to secure a more precise global position on a difficult history. Congratulations on your perseverance. And congratulations as well, Your Excellency, on receiving the International Statesperson Award conferred on you only 2 days ago by the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia in recognition of your distinguished leadership in international affairs. With respect and pride, Your Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, we welcome you back home. Akwaba again.
I came to the UN 30 some odd years ago with a great African leader. I was part of the delegation with Nelson Mandela when he addressed the General Assembly about sanctions in South Africa. I come many times since then, and I'm here today because I believe another great African leader, President Mahama, is raising an issue that is very important and personal to us.
I wish at the outset to express high appreciation to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, for his leadership in convening this important meeting and for his invaluable contribution and custodianship as the African Union leader on advancing the cause of justice and payment of reparations to Africans and people of African descent.
I would like to say thank you to President John Dramani Mahama for your visionary, courageous leadership for all of the descendants of Africa on our journey to reparations, justice, and economic renewal, building a shared future.
I want to extend my gratitude to Your Excellency, President Mahama of Ghana, for remaining a champion in the spirit of Pan-Africanism and building on that lineage, to members of the administration, to members of CARICOM, to other heads of state, allies, and comrades.
It is a great honor for me to represent His Excellency João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, at this high-level event on reparatory justice for the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the racialized enslavement of Africans, an initiative of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, which the Republic of Angola joins and supports.
I also would like to specially commend His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for the guidance, the vision, the courage, and the resilience in leading the African continent, all people of African descent, and indeed, all people with good conscience in our world on this historic path to reparatory justice and restitution. Posterity will certainly be kind to President Mahama and all of us in this room who remain committed to this defining process.
Wave your flag, wave your flag, wave your flag. Thank you very much.
Baraka FM.
And I invite the African champion, my president, your president, and the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, His Excellency Ejumera John Dramani Mahama, to address us. Thank you.
Baraka FM.
Thank you very much. I've done so much traveling on this issue that my ears are actually blocked. I can hardly hear much of what you're saying. And so just before we landed, I took the precaution of writing a brief statement so that I'll be able to put the points across as succinctly as possible. But let me begin by thanking all of you, Nime, Name, our traditional rulers, members of the clergy, senior government officials, members of parliament, heads of security services, our Millennium supporters, Black Star supporters, and to acknowledge particularly my Vice President for the warm welcome she gave me when I arrived. Let me also acknowledge my Chief of Staff for the warm words he just spoke. But before I read the statement, let me say that this is a victory not only for Ghana, it's a victory for a broad coalition of all Africans, all people of African descent, CARICOM, and indeed all people of good conscience around the world. The issue of Atlantic slave trade has been advocated for many years by many people. It has been acknowledged in parts, and in some places apologies given, but it has always been handled in a very fragmented manner. And so the significance of what we did was to put it all together and put it on the highest global platform and put on record that this was the gravest crime against humanity. But before I go to the statement, I want to thank my Foreign Minister, Okudzeto Ablakwa. I gave the guidance, but they did the legwork. The thousands of kilometers he traveled from country to country canvassing support for this resolution must be acknowledged. I also want to thank our permanent mission to the UN and our ambassador in the United States, Victor Smith, and all their staff for the legwork that they did preparing before we arrived. They deserve the real honor because they actually did the work. I just provided the guidance. And so I want to thank also all our colleagues in CARICOM and all the others all over the world, the 123 countries that voted for this resolution. Many of them not affected by the slave trade or involved in it in any way, but having good conscience to acknowledge that on scale, nothing surpasses the inhumanity of what happened for 400 years against black people in this world. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you warmly for this reception. I'm deeply honored by your presence and your continued support. This moment belongs to all the people of Ghana. Your prayers, encouragement, and belief carried this mission forward, and I return home with a deep sense of gratitude and humility. The significance of the UN resolution. At the United Nations, Ghana stood not only for itself, but for Africa and the global African diaspora. The adoption of the resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity is historic. It affirms what we have always known, that this injustice must be acknowledged, it must be remembered, and it must be addressed. Acknowledgement of the slave trade has been fragmented. This is the first time clarity and record has been brought to the issue on the highest global platform, the United Nations. This is not about the past alone. It is about justice, dignity, and truth. It is about ensuring that the legacy of slavery is neither forgotten nor trivialized. And it is about laying a foundation for meaningful global conversations on reparative justice. Ghana has once again demonstrated moral leadership on the global stage. Working with the African Union, the CARICOM, and like-minded nations, we have helped to shift the global conversation. This is consistent with our history from our independence to today of standing for justice and human dignity. People often ask, so what comes next? This resolution is just the beginning. It's not an end. We will work with our partners to translate this moral victory into concrete outcomes. CARICOM already has a 10-point plan for reparative justice. We will work to build a coalition around their plan. Ghana will continue to work with our allies towards dialogue, education, humanity, and remembrance with reparative actions against let this moment remain in this world. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you warmly for this reception. I'm deeply honored by your presence and your continued support. This moment belongs to all the people of Ghana. Your prayers, encouragement, and belief carried this mission forward, and I return home with a deep sense of gratitude and humility. The significance of the UN resolution. At the United Nations, Ghana stood not only for itself, but for Africa and the global African diaspora. The adoption of the resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity is historic. It affirms what we have always known, that this injustice must be acknowledged, it must be remembered, and it must be addressed. Acknowledgement of the slave trade has been fragmented. This is the first time clarity and record has been brought to the issue on the highest global platform, the United Nations. This is not about the past alone. It is about justice, dignity, and truth. It is about ensuring that the legacy of slavery is neither forgotten nor trivialized. And it is about laying a foundation for meaningful global conversations on reparative justice. Ghana has once again demonstrated moral leadership on the global stage. Working with the African Union, the CARICOM, and like-minded nations, we have helped to shift the global conversation. This is consistent with our history from our independence to today of standing for justice and human dignity. People often ask, so what comes next? This resolution is just the beginning. It's not an end. We will work with our partners to translate this moral victory into concrete outcomes.
United Nations bonabaso ya dudona antino ye obefi su de so fata se yeso Ghana for titiru hu se wayebi de oye so no fata se at least we dia sida ban manyame na asa da ono so ase se akuguduru a ode esa dwumade no de ya de se yentimi embonabaso na yentimi hu se enu nyina na edin sakrae edi differences ebeba in terms of the way we look at ourselves as Africans, and then look going forward how we should also carry ourselves about. And in we any day yetimi edi ebremo edi efa sa ensemno ntino ye call for a short break na yesamba bioma but mo mo hwe we YouTube and Facebook no, and ye mampanyi egusu kasa ntino enchebiano odibesi ntino ye di ye call for a short break ye ba na yasatu yesa kai mu se any lawyer for what everybody enkomo for the legal reforms parliament pass law but some them say man penny wa be there say or signing he has to sign before it becomes a document that can be workable document. But in the meantime no there you know mo be kasana yatimi engage mo na entimi nyantiase efa the ekoso in terms of those who want to pursue the law or those who are already practicing and those who in future would want to also go into the law. And in the bremo and anope you call for a short break.